are back. It's Tuesday morning. You raced on Friday night here, Saturday morning in Yokohama.
And got back Saturday here.
And you got back Saturday night at 9 p.m. Tell us about, you came off of you're coming off of a fourth place race in Yokohama. This is your best result, certainly the most stacked field in your 2.0 campaign. Where from, I'll call it the really bad race you had in Abu Dhabi.
Just want to give a quick update. I had a race in Abu Dhabi. I had a swim that put me in a position to be in the race and a bike that got me out of the race. I'm going home not with what I wanted to accomplish, but it was where I was at on the day.
You had roughly 100 days to train, to get ready for this race. What were the big targets or initiatives that you've been hitting along the way that kind of helped? And then where did that ultimately, land, I think, on Saturday for you?
Yeah, I think with Abu Dhabi, I definitely underestimated, I think, everyone else's fitness levels. I went in and I was like, everyone's going to be like, 80%. And I'm not at the level where I can be 80% and race against these fields. And so I think I just wasn't, basically from then until now, I just did training, right? February was super early. There was a bigger time gap between Abu Dhabi and Yokohama than there was the off season, the last race of the season in Abu Dhabi. So in that time period before Abu Dhabi, I had taken a break, was building back, and then after Abu Dhabi, I was able to get in some actual training. Yeah,
and so I would say from the outside, your confidence was really dented in Abu Dhabi, and I think ultimately really led to, where I think your confidence was really shaken even headed into Yokohama.
Yeah, I think I was very uncertain of what was going to happen, but even when I feel fit and we like to say competent, not confident, but even when I feel that, I still am uncertain, right? That's why you go to a race. You have no idea what's going to happen. And so I went into it thinking, it's going to hurt and I have no idea what's going to happen.
So did you have some key sessions coming into the race where you were like, okay, now I've hit some benchmarks? Because we don't really talk about that, you and I personally. You just kind of tell me about ooh, this session was really bad. You don't ever come in and be like, peacocking your way through the house and be like, dude, I just smashed it today. So
I think from what I did, I've been riding with a lot of other pro cyclists in town, actually doing their workout, and that made me even more uncertain going into the race because I wasn't doing my specific workouts, but it really challenged me in a way that I think was good. And we did crits leading into the race, which I think was very beneficial as well. So you got to see those firsthand.
We did that really technical one up in Fort Collins where it had 10 turns and it was more than a K, but it was certainly less than a mile lap.
Yeah.
It had 10 or 12 turns, was narrow, had a lot of breaks in the road. So anyway.
And then in the run.
Talk about the run. Talk about your run.
I always want to be able to run a 3-minute K. And I remember on my birthday, I actually had 1K workout. And I was like, oh yeah, I'm turning 39 for my birthday. I'm going to give myself running a 3-minute K. And I didn't. And I was pretty bummed about that. And I ended up I don't know what workout it was, but I did end up running a 3-minute K. And it's an interesting thing. I think it's not good mentally to be stuck on something. And I know I can perform well even if I haven't done that benchmark. But for me, it is something that really, it allows me to have that competence going into race day for my run.
Okay, so let's talk about the race. It was forecasted and scheduled to be monsoon rains in Yokohama. And a
lot of panic calls to you about tire pressure.
Yeah. And I made a final. I had kept lowering your pressure all week.
And do you remember what I said?
Yes. You're like, I have 4 notes from you. They are all different tire pressures. So what's the deal? And I said a final number. And then race morning came and I changed it. I texted you and I said, I've changed my mind.
That's because I told you I went out and pre-ran it and said it was super slippery.
Yep, so then I changed my mind and I went 48 PSI in the front and then 50 PSI in the rear.
And I actually didn't listen to you. I did 50-50.
Okay.
But,
So, anyway, tell us about kind of the week and then heading into it and then ultimately, walk us through the swim, bike, and run.
Week was pretty normal. You go to a race and you just have to recover from jet lag, and so that's what I was doing. Didn't really do a ton of training. And then, race morning, woke up, it was raining. I called you, and I remember because I did like my morning jog, and the roads, the lines were just super slippery. Like if I put my foot on it running, it just slipped under me, and so it was a little
worrisome.
Yeah. But for me, once the race starts, I've raced in those conditions before. I've trained in those conditions, and so for me, it was once the race started, it was just focus on the race.
All right. So I missed the start of the swim because it was the kids' carnival basically in our backyard. So walk us through, where you lined up in the swim, how the swim went, lap 1, lap 2, where you came out.
I had a pretty high start number and everyone lined up on the right. So there was an open space about, 6 in or something. So I took that. And it was a pretty cold day.
George is joining us.
Yeah. He loves the camera.
Yeah.
It was a cold day, and I dove. I remember diving. We did a warm up, and it was a borderline wetsuit. People always ask me do you like to have a wetsuit swim or a non-wetsuit swim? And my answer is always, I don't care as long as I'm not cold. And this was definitely a cold race. So this is kind of the worst conditions for me for swimming, where the water was 20.2. Yeah, and 20 is the cutoff for a wetsuit. So kind of as cold as it could be. And then the air was cold as well. And I remember standing on the starting line just thinking, don't shiver, just relax. Because I did have a race earlier this year in Miami where it was really cold and I was shivering and I got all tense and it really impacted my swim. So the swim was cold, and the first lap I felt like I managed it really well, and I got out for the second lap, dove in, and all I thought was, I am so cold. And then immediately next thought was, you just need to go as fast as possible to warm up. And so, I got out of the swim, and I think transition was a bit hard for me because I was so cold as well. But I just focused on, all right, let's just do this. Let's get up the road. Let's get there as fast as we can. And I was essentially, I think, in the third group on the bike. And was there like 6 people in that group?
Yep.
And they were working really well. And it just was hard until we kind of caught up to the front pack.
And then, on the bike, you seemed to kind of get a little bit more comfortable as the race went on. Was that the case for you?
I think you never get comfortable, especially in those conditions. For me, I knew that I wanted to get to the front, and I think that's something I can still work on. I had some moments where I was able to get to the front, where there's races where I never do, so that's a positive. But I also have some work to do in that regard.
Okay, and then what were you thinking, obviously, as it's one big group and you're approaching the run and you're thinking, okay, now I have a chance to potentially win this thing or get my best result? Like, what are you thinking about that at all when the run starts?
I came out of T2 probably 20 seconds down?
Wasn't that bad. I'd say 12 maybe.
Okay. It was a lot. So, for me, it was just build throughout the race and try to catch as many people as possible.
Yep. And any other feedback from the run?
I think after the fact, you're always like, I could have gone faster, I could have gone harder. So I always have those thoughts.
Yep. And are you excited about your result over the weekend? Was it nice to have a 4th place? That was your best one.
I'm toying if I should be honest or if I should be happy. I think I gotten so many messages and everyone says I should be happy and I'm just not. I think, I even was talking to you about it and I was like, I just want a medal. And you're like, yeah, but if you would have gotten 3rd, then you would have said you wanted to got 1st. And if you would have got 1st, then you would have complained about doing something wrong. And it's like, you know me very well. And I'm just never satisfied. And I don't know if that's makes me a better athlete, or if that's, I mean, it's just who I am in my racing. So yeah, I mean, I'm hungry for more. I'm not like sad about the race, but I'm also not as excited as other people have been for me. But I really appreciate everyone being excited.
Yep. And what's next for you? Where are you going next?
Yeah, so it's gonna be a tight turnaround. There's another WTCS in Italy in 2 weeks, so it's exactly 2 weeks apart. So I came home. I tried to get on a plane as fast as possible to get home, and I leave again on Monday for another race. So a lot of time zone changes, and I could have stayed, gone to Europe, but I've done that in the past, and mentally I just don't do well when I'm not with my family. So yeah, we're gonna give this a go and see what happens. It's been a long journey, right? And so to be in, I was on, when I saw the finish line, I also saw the podium finishing, and so to be that close, I think is really exciting. And I'm really thankful for my sponsors. Your sponsors have played a huge part in this, that have stuck with you. My family, your fans. You've just had a ton of really supportive people in your life, and this hasn't been the easiest or the smoothest journey. And so for those of you that have been supportive of you and I, we're really, really grateful. Yes.
And I do really mean that. So thank you. Yeah. Georgie, would you like to say goodbye?
Goodbye.
So cute. Good job, Georgie.